Sure. I'm Shawn Seipler, Executive Director of Clean the World. I started Clean the World back in 2008. I was a Vice President of Sales and Marketing for an e-commerce company located right here in Orlando, and I did a lot of traveling city to city almost every single week. A typical week for me was on the road 3 or 4 nights a week. With a wife and 4 kids, I was really getting tired of that. I really wanted to spend more time and really look to do something that was my own. At the end of 2008, our co-founder, Paul Till, who worked with me at the e-commerce company, and I decided to look at new ventures, and we were looking in sustainability, environmentalism. We signed up to T. Boone Pickens' website. We looked at solar panels, we looked at wind turbines, anything in what we thought was going to be sort of the wave of the future. As I was sitting in a hotel room one day, I literally asked myself what was going on with that soap and shampoo. As I went from city to city, I never took that with me, so I knew that I was leaving it behind. So Paul and I actually were on a business trip to Minneapolis. We decided to call down to the front desk and realized that they were throwing it away once we were done with it. We got back home and decided to survey a bunch of hotels. We actually called 30 hotels, and 30 for 30 said they were throwing away the soap and shampoo. So at that point, we knew that we had something that was being thrown away. Then the question became, okay, what can we recycle soap? And obviously we know we can recycle plastics, but what about soap? So we found some very amateur ways on the internet to recycle soap, a method called rebatching, which is where you literally grind the soap up, cook it, and reform it into a new bar. So now we knew that we had a particular process. Then the big question became, well, what do we do with it? So one day, Paul was researching on the internet the origins of soap, and he came across a study where doctors went into a village in Bangladesh. The village was suffering high mortality rates to diarrheal disease, and diarrheal disease is what sparked his interest because he never knew that a disease called diarrheal disease existed. Diarrheal disease is the second leading cause of death amongst children worldwide. And in this study, the doctors brought in 2 things into the village: soap and education on how and when to use the soap. And in that village, there was a 60% reduction of diarrheal disease from simple bar soap. So at this point, Paul really had the aha moment. I remember him telling me about reading this study, and like for a week I didn't do it, and literally one night he demanded that I sit down and read the study, and I can remember laying in my bed and reading the study, and that is really when the whole purpose and mission of Clean the World came about. When I really knew that we had an opportunity to save millions of lives by getting soap to people all over the world. At this point, we had done the math. There's 4.6 million hotel rooms in the United States. At a 60% occupancy rate, there's about 1 million bars of soap being thrown away every single day. Diarrheal disease is the second leading cause of death amongst children. Pneumonia is the leading cause of death amongst children worldwide. Combined, those 2 diseases kill 9,000 children every single day. Well, as we further research those studies, the same soap strategy applied to pneumonia, meaning if we could bring soap into these developing areas, we could also reduce pneumonia by up to 60%. So 1 million bars of soap a day, 60% reduction with bar soap, 9,000 children dying every day. This was a math equation that made a lot of sense to us in terms of being able to do something incredible for mankind. And that was when we started Clean the World, and when we understood that it was going to be a humanitarian mission, it was going to be about saving lives. And from that point, we actually rebatched our first set of soap in my kitchen. We incorporated in February of 2009, and we got the word out about March, April timeframe that we were starting to collect soap from hotels. The collection went incredible. The very first hotel we picked up was the Holiday Inn at the Orlando airport. I thought I was going to go in and have to give this big selling story as to why we wanted to take their soap and recycle it. I talked to the general manager, and in about 3 minutes he said, absolutely, this is a no-brainer for us. That was great. We eventually went on and talked to a Marriott. That Marriott property went to a bunch of other Marriotts here in Central Florida, and before you know it, we had the Marriott World Center, the Marriott at the airport, the Renaissance SeaWorld, all these Marriott properties. we very quickly had to move out of my kitchen and into a single car garage. And if you can envision this, on Saturdays, had about 5 of us all in a single car garage. We had a meat grinder going where we were grinding up soap. We had 4 cookers from Sears that were Kenmore cookers that we were literally cooking the soap, and about 3 of us on upside down pickle buckets basically scraping soap to do the surface cleaning, and that was our recycling process. The word continued to get out. More and more hotels were coming on board, and before you know it, we had really launched Clean the World here in Central Florida, and then of course onward and upward, all over the United States. We are going to create a hygiene revolution across the globe. That's our goal, to eradicate the #1 and #2 killers of children worldwide. We're going to do that by getting every hotel room in the world on board with Clean the World. Today, we have almost 600 hotel partners in 44 U.S. states, in 8 Canadian provinces. We actually just started recycling our first hotel in South Korea, the Grand Ambassador, and in 2011, we'll see a major expansion into Europe and Asia. The more soap we get, the more we can take these developing countries and teach them a hygiene culture. In the United States, we went through our own hygiene revolution at the turn of the century. During the Civil War, more people died because of infectious diseases being spread than they did because of gunshot wounds. And it's documented that in the cities of New York, Chicago, and London, when the hygiene revolution came about, the industrial revolutions followed shortly thereafter. That's one big piece of evidence. Second piece of evidence we point to is in The Economist just a couple months ago, there was a study that showed that children in developing countries devote so much of their body's growth energy to fighting off disease and pathogens that if they make it to the age of 5, and the large majority of them, or large percentage of them, especially compared to developing countries, don't. But if they make it to the age of 5, they literally have stunted mental growth because they've been having to fight off disease and pathogens. So we take those evidences and say that if we can bring in soap, if we can teach these cultures how to conduct proper hygiene, proper sanitation, that we can literally maybe be the catalyst for an industrial revolution. And that all starts with us getting hotels under our program. When we started our program, hotels, there was no financial obligation from hotels. And as part of figuring out a small business and figuring out a new business, we got several months into our program and realized that there wasn't money coming in to support what we needed to do. So we put our entrepreneurial brains together and decided to create a program and a brand and a logo that is extremely compelling and extremely valuable to hotels. Because we get so much positive PR, so much press, because in the hospitality industry, sustainability and corporate social responsibility are big tenets, we've been able to bundle that into a package that hotels actually pay for our program. So not only are they donating to us, not only are they saving our planet and saving lives, but they're also providing the financial wherewithal that we need in order to sustain our business, grow our business, and really conduct the hygiene revolution. It's real interesting how when you can get people to understand a hygiene revolution, they want to get behind it, so much so that they're actually willing to pay to be a part of it, especially in a world where, we're really ripe for it. When you look at what happened after 9/11, you talk about the tsunami, the earthquake, all of these things that have happened, a lot of tragedies that have happened. I think people are more conscious about how they can help others, and certainly we've been able to capitalize on that within the hospitality industry to build a business that's out there to save lives. In 18 months, we have prevented 375 tons of waste from hitting landfills because of our program. So not only are we out there saving lives, which is clearly the thing that we talk about the most, but all of that soap, all of that shampoo, conditioner, lotion is not hitting landfills, a major environmental impact. And so as we continue to move forward and grow, we expect to see a greater impact on the environment by not having those items hit landfills. As a nonprofit, it's challenging to get capital. You can't just come up with an idea and approach investors and get them to invest. So you have to do it a little more organically. You have to do it where you convince people that you've got a great mission and cause and have to get them to donate. One of the early challenges we had was simply financing. We incorporated February of 2009, which is the peak of the worst economy in the history of our life. And donations were down. A lot of nonprofits were going out of business. And we suffered early on. We did not have a smart business model. I think one of the things that you really got to think about when you're starting a new business is really think about the business model, really think about the value that you are bringing to your consumer. Whether it is nonprofit or for-profit, it doesn't matter. If you're making products, if you're conducting a service, the value is important. One of the other things that we did when we decided to start putting a financial charge behind our program is I'm a big proponent of two things. Number one, value pricing, meaning it's not necessarily what your cost is plus a margin. Understand what the value of your product is to the person that's buying it, and that's where you want to price it. And hopefully the value is a lot higher than what it's costing you to do something, and then you've got the opportunity to to conduct the business. One of the other things that we did a lot of is cash flow and working on prepays. So if you ever have opportunities when you're starting a business to sell a product and get more money up front, maybe offer a discount, cash is king. You can do a lot more when you get cash up front. And we were really able to fund the business early on by finding 2 or 3 key partners that paid all of their services up front. They recognized the discount because of that, but that allowed us to grow, to hire ahead, to get ahead of the curve a little bit because we actually had cash in the door. And the other thing I would say is you just never know when a simple thought can lead to something incredible. I mean, I was in a hotel room literally wondering what happened with the little bottle of shampoo and the little bar of soap. And that has turned into, the feel-good story in hospitality of the year. 6 million bars of soap worldwide, 44 countries that we deliver to. I've personally handed to thousands of orphans in Haiti. That all came from just sitting in a hotel room, figuring out, asking a question, and then leveraging the internet. I mean, I was on Google. Paul Till was on Google. It was just a matter of how do you rebatch soap and where'd soap come from, what are the effects of soap. And so there's so much information available to you that if you just come up with a very simple thought or idea, follow it all the way through, and you never know when that's going to turn into something great. We have had to invent things along the way. So for instance, our recycling process. The original process that we found on the internet included grinding soap up and then recooking it. Well, after doing that for several months, we realized that was going to take way too long if we were going to create a business that was going to support 4.6 million hotel rooms. So we started thinking of ways that we could shock soap. And we went into a restaurant and found a steamer and realized that if a steamer was cooking vegetables and fruit and food that was good enough to be digested, that we could probably kill pathogens on a bar of soap to ensure that it was safe and sanitary. So we partnered with an environmental lab. We took soap, we put it in a steamer. The first time we ran it into a steamer, when we took it out of the steamer, we broke the soap in half and noticed that the inside was expanding. And so that was the theory, was that the steam was getting inside and actually opening up the soap. And so from that process, we were able to go from recycling 500 bars a day to 10,000 bars a day. So there was some creativity, some innovation there, where we took an item that was in a restaurant, applied it to soap, we're able to recycle. Here's a model where you take a logo and a trademark and a name, and you end up putting this incredible mission behind it, bundle it up and sell it. I think just very creative in terms of the way we were able to get a business model behind it with hotels. If you have a simple question and you're sort of thinking about the answer to it, and you just keep on following it, keep on going. There were so many times when we hit a spot that seemed like a brick wall. Early on, just the whole recycling soap, we couldn't really find how could you do it and what was the response going to be. And what's interesting is we powered through that to the point that now we really are not even asked about the recycled soap. We've sort of just matter of fact created recycled soap out there. Very early on, we were approached by a very prominent industry association within hospitality that told us that hotels would never pay for it. They said hotels will never pay for your program. And that was like a big brick wall. And so that was when we were developing the hospitality program. We fought through that. We kept going. We didn't let that no become, kind of the stopping point. And now, 600 hotels later, we always laugh every time another check comes in and we say, well, I guess hotels will never pay for it, which obviously is the key to our, financial stability. Continue to research, look on the internet. You just never know when a simple question is going to turn into something incredible. And also, if you're out there doing something good, don't underestimate the value of divine intervention, good karma. The good guys always finish last. That's that's false. If you're out there trying to do something good and you're trying to help others, there's a lot of other people out there that are going to help you. They're going to get behind you and they're going to support you, and just be surprised at how many doors will open and how many things will just really help get you there. So if you're kind of going down that road, you'll probably get some help from the general karma of the world.